Hello and welcome to Flory Models Kit Review Time. Today, at last, we've got AMK's 1/48 scale F14D Tomcat. Now, I'm not going to go into the history of that. We've only been waiting for this kit for the best part of 4 years. I've had it on order. And with all the delays and everything that went on and various excuses I think were being made by AMK for the reason we didn't get this kit, but it is finally here at last. Then, not to mention that there wasn't a massive amount of them available. As you know, I own a store that sells kits. We couldn't even get hold of them again because there seemed to be quite a short run of them available, and they sold out very quickly. Second lot came out, so eventually I've got one for review. Anyway, enough of all of that. Let's have a look exactly what we've got. Okay, so quite an interesting take-off pose of a Tomcat. Anyone knows about a Tomcat would see that's a little bit odd. But anyway, looking around on the box, this is the F14D. Okay, out of the versions, you can see we've got some of the markings down in here. It does come with the weapons as well, which is quite a nice touch. Okay, and looking around on here, as you can see, it is a measly £58, which is quite a bargain for this particular one. Kit number for this one is, I've got to remember, 88007. Okay, so this is your other markings on it. So you have got some very, very attractive markings, and even we've got Bunny as well, which is a very nice one to get as well. So, in the box, you are greeted by a very solid type of layout, as you can see down in here. So we've got our instructions, and as you can see, this literally touches where it fits. Okay, it literally is like that. Anyway, we'll have a look at that properly in a moment. Let's have a look in the old instructions. So, as always, we'll start in the instructions and make our way through. There are your markings for it. So, really nice that we've got the lions, we've got the bounty hunters, obviously we've got the tomcatters, the vampires, and the grim reapers down in there. Okay, so we've got your markings out to start with, right the way through, and your colour call outs for all of those ones, as we can see, which is a little bit different, having them at the beginning rather and at the end. Okay, weapons fit, you've got your cockpit ones as well, so it's talking about obviously decals and markings that are going to go on those separately. So to start with, you're going to be opening up the holes on the lower fuselage as well to put the pallets in. Now the pallets is what hold obviously the ground ordnance or the Phoenix missiles. If you're just going to go with the normal sort of Sparrow layout, you're not going to be opening those up. Same thing with the fuel tanks, although you're always going to be opening those up because it carries the pylons on there. To be honest, this is the first time I've actually seen it in these instructions, and that looks a little bit, whoa, in your face with everything going on. It looks like they've just chucked it all in here and explains why the manual was, I don't know, just a little bit compressed, shall we say. So, starting off with, we've got the ejection seat system going down in there. It looks pretty straightforward all the way through. The usual sort of way of doing the actual panels. So down in here, we've got these panels on top of the actual cockpit. Now, pretty straightforward on this one. And obviously it does open up the way very nicely for doing earlier versions of the A and B types of Tomcat as well, because that's where the differences are going to be. All right, so that's all of those on there. We do have, as we know, it will be a one-piece slide molded injection molded front cockpit area, so that's going to be in the one, but you've got that usual way of the wheel well going underneath to put that in there like that. Okay, then you've got all the various parts being put on the top of this one, so you're going to be sliding that cockpit in and then putting the seats in. Again, that's very complex instructions. Yes, they're all there, it's just a very busy. I think they could have broken that down a little bit more, made it easier to follow. We do get fully detailed engine as well, so that's quite nice. Okay, and then obviously we've got full length intakes of this one going into this one, and the various areas going on with that, pretty standard ones. We've got the intake ramps for slowing down that air, depending on how you're going to want to have it posed right the way through. And then obviously you've got these ones which are slightly different. These are full length the actual engine nacelles, if you like, that run right the way down instead of that normal way of having them on there. So again, we'll have a proper look at that in a moment. What that does open up though is obviously this where we can have the engines, so you've got the detail in. If you did want to take an engine out and do a little bit of super detailing with it, you have got that option. Again, very busy here showing this going in. It's very difficult to even work out what's going where and all the rest of it, because it's just arrows on top of the actual CAD work, which I don't like that at all, to be honest. Okay, then we've obviously got the tailplane system, and again you get different mounting ones for what angle you want, so you can't actually just have that usual way of having a pin in here and then positioning the tailplane. You're going to have to make your mind up if you do want to have it perhaps, you know, in the powered down position and have it slanting back on the tailplanes, neutral, or perhaps sort of takeoff trim area as well. Okay, so again, that's odd, a little bit difficult. I know why, and we'll talk about that later, but yeah, just a funny way of doing it. One of the big selling points of this kit, right the way over the other the ones on the market, i.e. Tamiya, is clearly the way that we can have it with either wings sort of stowed out or fully flaps and slats and everything else deployed on this one. Because the thing is with the Tomcat, it has spoilers on top of the wings instead of the traditional ailerons being a swept wing aircraft. So it's very nice that these can be detailed up and down, and if you wanted to do it in the idle position, you could have both up on both wings right the way through. Okay, and then again, working our way through with that one, we've got the tails ones on there, we've got the speed brakes. Again, we're assuming you can have that open or closed down in there, and then obviously it's talking already about putting aerials and small bits on right down in here. And then we've got this area down on the front here for the bags going on the back, which is the area behind the wings for the sweep as they go back. Again, really complex how they've done this. I don't understand why they've done the instructions the way they have. It's not exactly straightforward, and it's not showing you exactly what to do. Okay, so down in here you've actually got the tails, which are the vertical tails. Good job it says it there, because from that angle it looks like they're just ones that would be on the side. Again, just odd, whoever's done these instructions are a little bit out of the way. Okay, so we've got this thing. We're obviously picking exactly how you want those wings to be, all right, and then fitting those in just like that. And then obviously we've got the thing with the nozzles on the back. You can have them open or closed, which is pretty straightforward. And then obviously down on the front, we've got the ladder and the various sections. Obviously you'd normally put this all on last, but it's talking about it now, but you can obviously do it all out of sequence. Again, very nice that we've actually got a refueling probe. You can have open or closed, although again, it's not showing it particularly well in these instructions. Gear, so obviously you can actually have the Tomcat basically upright, or you can have it crouched by the looks of it. So I assume there will be a option for that, which there is. So you can have it crouched or you can have it up. Okay, and then obviously the doors and all the parts being fitted in. Again, these instructions just are not easy to follow. Even me getting my head around it, it's not straightforward. Doors being fitted down onto this one, so at least they have got the option for closing up the doors if you wanted to, okay, because it's not like moulded in one like Tamiya did it with that one, which is fair enough. And then speed brakes, obviously open or closed, being fitted down into there just like that. Canopy railing and the framework and all the rest of it, that's going in. Two-piece canopy going into this as well. That will be interesting to see exactly how that is, open or closed. You got the pallets. Okay, so obviously if you're going to go with the Phoenix missiles, you're going to be using Q, or you'll be using Q6 if you're going to be going in there with some sort of GBU loadout or whatever you want to have on there. So fuel tanks obviously going on the outside. Then you've actually got the glove pylons going in. Again, depending on what you're fitting it with will be depending on which of those are. And then obviously with the weapons, as we know, they're one piece. We've seen those already, to be honest, right the way through. And then we've obviously got the tarps pod underneath. So again, you can put that one in as well, how you want it. And then obviously, depending on this one, again, it can carry a lot more than that. It's got no rockets on here or anything if you wanted to, but again, it's doing what it shows in the kit. All right. And there you have. I have to say, that has to be one of the most complex instructions to follow. I don't know if it's because the font is particularly heavy and it's just very dark and it's thin, but again, like down in here showing how this all goes in, I don't find that easy to follow. I don't know if it's just me. One thing I just want to flick back in, so I'm just trying to get my head around this, and again, because it's the first time I've seen this, is that can you actually have the wings, do you have to pick? Because it's saying about if it's going to be folded back, it's going to be G15. If you want them sort of out a little bit. So if you want to go for the wing overlap position, it's G15, G20 or V3. We'll have to check on the instructions on that one. Again, if that's the case, it's almost like they've given you the option where you can do it with, you know, the flaps and slaps all deployed, which is what we want from a Tomcat, and then taking it away because you're fixed with it. Because if you want to then put it wings out, folded or whatever, you have no option. Again, it just seems a little bit odd on that one. Anyway, the box. So as we can see down in here, this is very, very well packed. So if I do this in reverse, I might be able to get it all back in the box. So you can see we've got one down in there, and it does, you know, I'm thinking it's going to be fixed in position, but judging by that. Two, we've got the straights, we've got the fuselage halves, which is fair enough. We've got the pylons, we've got the pallets and the seats. We've got the engines, as you can see down in here. We've got down in here, this is the Sidewinder missile, so you've got 4 of those, which is fair enough. We've got the tyres and the actual bags which go behind the wings, which inflate, which are pneumatic. Okay, and then we've got the tailplanes, and yes, we have got that. Okay, so fair enough. And then just down in here, and this is the part we want, we have got some of these other ones. Now in here, to be honest, we're going to take this one out because it's got the landing gear, which is fair enough. We're going to take this one out because obviously it's got the cockpit front sections. The tarps pod, to be honest, and obviously all of this one down in here, we don't need. And if you want to see all about that one, we've already done the review, which I'll link down below, because we've already done their ordnance set, which we spoke about, which does come with all of these down in here. So you get the tarps pods and all the other bits and pieces. So if you want to go off and see that one, you can do that now. So we're not going to bother looking at weapons because we've technically covered that already. Okay, so out of all of that detail, to be honest with you, you only get one small piece or one small fret, a photo etch, which is harnesses, which I thought we might get a few more bits and pieces in there. So we've got obviously the chaff and flare buckets at the back there. We've got a little bit for the HUD. We've got some mirrors, but I really thought we might see a little bit more. So yeah, a bit odd. Decals. Let's have a quick looky in here, because obviously a bit of a highlight with this kit is some of those markings, which are really very nice indeed. Okay, so weapon one we don't need to look at, because to be honest we've seen that. What we do want to do is have a look in here. So if we just start at the top, we can see with these, it actually looks very nice. Got a little bit of water marking on these, but it's just that. What is nice is you see, if you don't want to be doing any hand painting, very nice with the actual detail down in here. We've got the weapons ones down in there, but that's one sheet for your markings. Okay, and then this will be your other sheet. Sorry, the bag's closed. There we go. Fight trying to get these all back in the bag afterwards. Okay, so down in here we've got the low-vis markings. So you can say you've got the Grim Reapers there, you've got the Bounty Hunters. Okay, and then obviously we've got the lions down underneath as well. So again, they all look quite nice. No problem with that. All good in register and things. Right, where are we going to start? I'll tell you where we're going to start. We're going to start in a box. So in here, and technically this is the thing, that AMK have almost pioneered this slide moulding or slip moulding. I keep getting told off whichever version I call it, but as you can see down in here, it's one piece. Now on something like this, it, to be honest, doesn't make that much difference, because your seam line is always just going to be there and at the back, and a tiny one on the front over here. Okay, but again, it's quite nice that it is done in one, so you don't have it. Another small nice touch on this one is that the gun vent system in here is for the D, so consequently they haven't modularized this front end. So if they were to come out with an older version, then it's fine. It's just that this venting system down on here is different for different versions of the actual Tomcat, so they haven't gone down that route. To be honest with you, the actual moulding doesn't look that smart, but actually I think that's just the cooling process as it's going in the mould rather than anything else, because the parts themselves look very, very nice indeed. And again, small little things like this little reinforcement plate around here on the step, that's quite nicely done, no problems. Got the details all on the top there and on the nose, as you can see, very nice indeed. And then round on the other side, you can see you've got those slime lines and all those inspection hatches and things like that down in there, no problem at all. On the underside, obviously you're going to have everything really fitting down into here. It's all pretty nice. It's just with the Tomcat, actually it doesn't make much difference, because by the time you put the lump underneath here for the chin, for the actual sensors, it's only really the top one you need to worry about, but there we go. Anyway, it is done in one. At the same time down in here, we've got the nose. Probably better to have it the right way around. There's your nose. Okay. Looks pretty good. Got the refueling probe, the various parts. I'm just surprised the injection moulding, maybe just the greyness of the plastic, but the plastic doesn't look particularly nice. It looks a little bit sort of flashy and things, but actually it's not. It's just giving it that impression. Again, very nicely done indeed. The thing I like as well, the pitot tube's got a nice, good, positive lock area. It's not like it's just a pin that's holding those on, so that's not too bad at all. Okay, so yes. So we've got the step area, we've got some ejection marks in the inside of that one, which is a little bit of a shame. Okay, so then I think we'll go straight over to the fuselage. If we try and do the bigger bits first, I think we can work our way through with this one. Okay, so looking at the top half of the actual fuselage, as you can see, beautiful details on the top here. It is moulded in as well with these at the top. You have got the little brake on the back if you want to do some work in there with fuel lines and things like that. Looking down, catching it all in the light, as you can see. Very, very nice indeed. No problem at all. Again, that looks very, very smart. Again, it'd be nice if they put a little bit of texture perhaps in the walkway, so it just travels through for when you paint it. On the inside, obviously, there's nothing really to see. Okay, down in here, but so you have got the tops of the wheel wells down in there, things like that. Pretty straightforward. The underside, obviously, got a little bit of detail. Again, very nicely done with the actual riveting detail, the panel lining, and then down the back here. This is going to have a slip over the top of this. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes instead of that usual way. So they've done the usual way of doing it, but instead of this being a separate part and then obviously you're going to butt up, you've got an entire one's going to go right over the top. Interesting way of doing it. You have got to have a big seam down in here. Be interesting to see how that follows. On the inside, obviously nothing really. You've got reinforcements and you've got the holes for opening up for the pallets. So pretty standard job in there. Actually seems to be okay. I'm looking at it and I'm pretty convinced what I'm seeing is just the plastic, because it's a darker grey, it's making the panel lines look like they're too big and too heavy, but I'm thinking that's just me. Okay, so these are those full length intakes going through, so you don't get the traditional seam in here. And again, Tamiya worked a bit of a magic job in here by putting it as two-piece with a cap, which fits beautifully. So it'd be interesting to see how this one goes. But again, no real problems with this at all. Again, it's a little bit textured on some of this moulding. The difference, it's not just like a clean mould. You've got just down in here, and then you've got a texture. And it's like a bit weird how they've done that, but there we go. I think that's more of a moulding. But I don't know, you know, obviously you guys can give me some feedback on this, but you can see clearly the mould seam line running through. That's not a problem, that's two swipes of the stick. But just looking at this panel line, it just looks very heavy. It looks a little bit overdone. And I don't think we're into the days of like the trumpeter riveter and things like that, but I just can't work out if it's, you know, it is overdone and a little bit heavy, or if it is just a case of like the plastic's just not showing it very nicely, because it's a funny old plastic. Down on the insides, obviously there's no detail whatsoever inside the intakes in there, because you're going to have a trunking system. Okay, so where are we going to go with this? I really, really don't know now. We're all over the place. Let's have a look at the wings. So, down in the wings. So, what we've actually got is two wings in one box, which is a nice little trick. So we've actually got a situation on this sprue where we've got the wings all in the folded up position. So you've got the flaps at the back and the slats are all installed, all good to go, just like that. Okay, so straightforward job. If you were doing it wings out without anything on, or if you're going to go with them folded up, that's the one you want to do. Okay, this is this situation where you've got an inlay and you have got some flash down in here, so you do want to be careful of this one, because that is going to foul when you try and put it together. But generally the rest of it all seems to be okay. The actual ejector pins all look to be recessed on most part. Okay, so that looks quite nice. And the detail, again, it's all here, but I don't know, I don't know if it's just sitting right with me. It may be just one of those things that by the time it's got some paint on it, it'll look absolutely fine. We do have some details down on the inside, again, very nicely done. So we've got some good, strong riveting details just down in here with these doors and things like that. But if we just have a smidge around on the close-up and I catch it in the light, as you can see, no problems at all. And then obviously we got the wings set just like that. Okay, very nice indeed. And then the other wing, as you can see here, is modulated because it is in lots of parts. So actually what you've got is a situation with one-piece flaps on here. So that's nice to see them in there, so that's quite straightforward. And then obviously we've got the barring system down in here is going to be the infill for the backs of them, so forth and so on. Okay, so it's quite nice, and there's quite a lot of detail down in these as well. Okay, but as I say, we're looking on the close-up, you can see them just down in here. These are these flaps, there's the top part of the wing. And then round onto the other side, all that detail. I don't know, it just seems a strange way of actually doing it. What is nice though, we've got the slats down in here are moulded in one, so that's actually looking pretty good down in there. Okay. Again, it's almost like they've tried to reinvent the wheel by doing it this way. Yet Hasegawa did it 20 odd years ago, and it's fine. And I don't know quite why they've done it that way. Anyway, at least you can't be accused of copying them. Right, so as you say, this is going to be a big old kit build, and this is a sprue that actually really interests me because you've got some fantastic detail down in here. So basically what we've got is the actual cockpit, we've got the front nose section, we've got the intakes, but also we've got some beautiful details like we can see down in here for the actual plumbing work in that nose wheel. We've got the framework running around the back. Okay, we've got inside the actual doors, wheel wells, things like that. As you can see, all of those details looking very, very nice. Those intake ramps looking good, and then obviously we've got the parts for the cockpit. We've got the cockpit itself pretty much devoid of all detail. We've got the nose, we've got the flaps, sorry, speed brakes, and again, unfortunately, two huge great ejector pins. Why they put those in there, I'm not sure. Okay, but there we go. And again, it's not too bad, but again, the intakes have got ejector pins in them as well. So it's a bit like you're slip moulding something and doing beautiful work and then throw it away. I don't know. Anyway, so this is this frame system you can see running across the top, which I wasn't aware with this kit at all. In some ways, I'm now a little bit disappointed because you can't move the wings then. You're fixed in that position. So if you've got them out, you're going to have to take them off, which you can just slide them off, I assume. Anyway, all the other parts, as you can see down in here, are really, really nice, I have to say. If we have a swizz round, as you can see, the actual plates that are running down the backs of the wings, no problem at all. We've got those main wheel wells, got the intake ramps. These are for the air intakes, and then parts for the gear actuators, doors, things like that, and then working our way up. So you've got more bits and pieces, and then again on the other side, depending if you're having that open or shut. But this is a beautiful bit of detail running down the side here. Fantastic. So again, going to take a wash really, really well, and you'll be okay. And again, they've done it again. Ejector pins right in the middle of the actual speed brake doors. And they're on the doors. Okay, you're really starting to annoy me now, AMK, because I put great faith in you and you're letting me down in certain areas. Okay. So, let's hope that the nozzles are good. Okay, so on this one, you've got the actual tails, vertical tails, and the back parts, insides for the nozzles, and we've got the engine nozzles themselves. And again, that all looks pretty nice. So over here on sprue J, as you can see, actually looks quite nice. All of those details. Good work for the inside of these nozzles, things like that. Working down the other tail planes, the nozzles areas on the back. Those nozzles are really very nice in the open or closed position. And say closed positions, actually the internal look very, very nice indeed. So that's all good. We're happy with that. Okay, so you got your wing section here. So this is the normal swept without the oversweep, as we call it, on the Tomcat. So that's just with the wings swept back, and then this one here is in the oversweep position. So it'd be like that if you use your Tomcat. So this one overlaps the tail planes of this one. Okay, so it gives you that oversweep capability as if it's been folded up on the carrier or for moving around the carrier and things like that. And again, you've got the tail areas down in here for the ventral tails and the various parts for the gear. Again, it's one of those ones where I don't know why they've invented the wheel, and they've got the detail down in here for the actuators and stuff that you're never going to see. There. Okay, where are we? We're running out of bags. Let's have a look at an engine, and we've got the fuel tanks down in here. Okay, so we've got a match pair just down with these two. So down in here we've got an engine, and again there's no surface detail to it at all, so you're going to have to put some work in there if you did want to have it open, unfortunately. Okay, so we've basically got the flame holder for the afterburners, the compressor blades and various things like that down on there, and obviously the drop tanks. And again, there's nothing really to see in this one, and it's quite nice that the detail down in here in the back end of the engine, there's no ejector pins in there. Okay, so that's all right. Okay, so we've got seats and pallets by the looks of it. So down in here, we've got bits of cockpit as well. So sprue T, as you can see, we've got all the details for the cockpit right the way through. And again, it's all just the stuff for the D. So what we're assuming is when the other ones come out, you'll have a replacement sprue for this, for the earlier B model and then obviously the very early A. So depending on which one you do, so obviously they're including that one down in there. The seats again will be slightly different with each model of Tomcat as well. The D and the B have different seats, I think, to the early A. So there we go, that's those again. But again, very nice, no problem with any of those. That looks pretty good indeed. We've got the pallets. So these are the forward pallet sections down in here. And then obviously we've got the glove pylons, the various parts on there, which is fair enough indeed. These little guys down in here is, so we've got the glove area for the pneumatic bags at the back. And again, if we can get these out, there we go. So with these ones, you've got the big convexed area here or just smoothed, obviously depending. This one's with the wings swept back, this one's with them out, so you do get the option for both of those, literally just like that. And then down in here we've got the wheels with the wheel hubs split. Not a fan, if I'm honest. There we go. That's not something to worry about. These we really don't need to get out, but as you can see we've got the pylons and the gloves. We've got the push for the bombs. Okay, so yeah, that's pretty good. Sidewinders, we've seen these before, so we don't need to look at them again because we've seen them in the weapons pack. So in here, last up, we have the clear part, which is one part or two part. Okay, don't know quite what they're doing. And just down in here, so we've got the seeker down at the front with the 2-camera system on there. We've got the one piece, so obviously you've got that single canopies if you wanted to put those in. Okay, so that gives you an option there. And then over on here we've actually got the gear. So we've got the gear in the compressed, as in this one here. And then again, you've actually got the launch bar is in the deployed position fixed, so you can't have it either way. And that was always the nice thing with the Tomcat from Hasegawa. You could have it up, you could have it down. It was an option. You could have it kneeling with it up. You know, again, it's just one of those ones. And then you've got the main gear on here as well. So that's fair enough. And actually it doesn't look too bad at all. We've got a little bit of centre seam in there. That's quite nice. Okay, last up, the clear parts. With a clear canopy as well. Which can get in. Okay, so we have, actually I have to say the clear parts are very, very clear. No problem with that at all. Hopefully you can see there's multiple ones at the back. Various seeker heads and lights and all of those, as you can see. And the main one, as you see, you have got the aerials on the tops of the canopies. They're supposed to be like that. The nose one looks very nice indeed. But again, it's this one-piece small canopy. And that's something Tamiya did very, very nicely on theirs, having a situation where it made the forward part of the actual system. But again, it's got a little bit of wobble to it, but it's a very complex shape. So, but generally that's pretty clear right the way through. And there you have it. Now, I'll be honest with you, I've heard so much about this kit, and having spoken with AMK over the years about it, I was expecting more, if that makes sense, okay? I wasn't expecting it to have locked sweep, so it's almost like they've given you an option, which is beautiful, that you can actually have with the flaps and the slats deployed, and that's something I wanted from the Tamiya kit. And then they've taken away the option to be able to sweep it. So my point is, if you're going to have them out, you're stuck with it. You've got to take the wings off if you want to manoeuvre it or do anything with it. So you are, that's the trouble. My one I've got in flight, and I can move the geometry of the wings if you wanted to. Various things like that. It's a full video build. You can go and see that one. Not a mass fan of certain parts all over this kit. The instructions are awful. They're so complicated, and it's like they hashed it together. Also, the thing with the canopy, you got two types of canopy, stuff like that. It's almost like they had pretty good design going right the way through, and for some reason they've made compromises all the way through the actual build, the way it goes together. They've almost sort of tried to reinvent the wheel when it doesn't need to be reinvented. I think the power lines are a little bit overdone. So yeah, and you're probably thinking now I'm going to give this a bit of a hate thing and all the rest of it, and maybe because it's just been waiting for it forever, but I'm not. I'm still going to say go and buy it. Don't buy the Tamiya one, buy that kit. And the main reason is this thing's £30 cheaper than the Tamiya kit. The Tamiya kit at the moment is running for, and I've written it down, is around at the moment for around about £90. This one's 58 quid. You know, so really it's literally night and day. It's, you know, a horrendous difference in price when you're thinking 90 quid for the Tamiya one, and it doesn't come with half of what this has got as well. Okay, you've got options with this kit as well, so you could actually do it if you wanted to in flight. You can obviously do it on the ground, you can do it on the catapult, you can do it parked up, whichever way you wanted to do it. So you could give, you know, pretty much you've got a kit in your stash which you can do anything with. Tamiya one, you're very limited what you can do with it. You can have it on the ground, you can have it folded up and all the rest of it. It is nice we get all the weapons with it, but to be honest, you get all the weapons with the Tamiya one as well. Beautiful marking options on this one. I do like that one. There's some absolutely fantastic ones in there right the way through. So I am going to have to say it's an absolute must, because it is now, I would say, the go-to Tomcat out there. Is it the best one? Being honest with you, no, I don't. I think the Tamiya one, the details on it are typical Tamiya. They're just that little bit crisper, a little bit more refined. I've spoken to about people who've built this kit, a few little niggling little issues with it, things like that. I've built the Tamiya one, and it literally is one of those, you just put glue in a box and shake it and it seems to fall together on its own. It's fantastic the way it happens. This one, just a little bit overcomplicated in certain areas, things like that. So that's why I'd have to mark it down. But I will still say, go and get this one. Don't get the Tamiya one, because why would you want to pay 30 quid more for a kit when you get less options with it? That's the point with it. This one's not quite as nice, but for 30 quid, I think it's an absolute steal difference between the two. So yes, go off and get this one. 58 quid from the PM store, you know, and then obviously if you wanted to, you've got the Tamiya option if you want to go down that route, and obviously you can pay a lot more. Or go and get yourself the Hasegawa one from the old days, because you can do everything you can do in here in the Hasegawa one, and actually that's not a bad kit considering it is now 25 years old or whatever kit that is, so that's actually not a bad option either. But there we go, that is the AMK Super Tomcat as they call it, or the F14D 148 scale.